Good morning, Tottenham fans. Big news today. Ex-Tottenham manager Ange Postecoglou is now going to be managing Nottingham Forest. And guess what? His first game is going to be at the Emirates against those lot down the road. Wow. Now that's going to be a reception he's going to look forward to. Can you believe it? There's a lot of people on Twitter at the moment saying that Ange is tactically inept. Forest are going to get relegated. They're not going to have any defence. They're just going to go all out attack. I'm going to tell you a few things that, were over-exaggerated. And they were over-exaggerated because it's Tottenham. When it's Tottenham, everything seems worse than it is, especially by the media, by pundits, by ex-footballers. They all try and make out it's worse than it is. But they ignore the facts. I'm the kind of guy that was defending Ange a lot last season because there was huge reasons for why we were finishing so low in the table last year. But what these pundits and some YouTubers would tell you, they forget to tell you that Spurs finished 5th in their first season under Ange. And they all tell you, oh, that's because he had a good start and that's why they finished 5th. We only got 26 points in the first 10 games. I think we got 36 points in the first 19 and 30 in the next 19. So it was nothing to do with the first 10 games. It was spread out all throughout the season. And Spurs lost out, by the way, by 1 point to the Champions League to get 4th, just behind Aston Villa. And they almost got it if Sonny scored that 1-on-1 against Manchester City. Sort of glad he didn't, because then Arsenal didn't win the league. But there's lots of things that some Spurs fans that hate Ange, they will tell you that he's absolutely awful manager. That's untrue. Even that run to the Europa League final, he was playing his second string team for most of the Premier League games, and he was playing his strong team for the Europa League games because he knew this club needed a trophy. It's been 17 years since he had one. He couldn't risk any more injuries to the players because he needed them all to win that trophy against Man United in the final. And when they talk about how easy this Europa League was, you won't be playing teams like that in the Champions League. Well, we've got Bodo Glimt in the Champions League this season, and we've got Frankfurt in the Champions League this season. So that's also false narrative as well. Another false narrative is everybody gets injuries. Spurs should learn how to cope with it. Really? If Spurs had to learn how to cope with injuries, they didn't have 4 of their back 5 for about 3 months playing twice per week through the Christmas period as well. They didn't have Udogie, Romero, Van de Ven or Vicario, and the substitute for Vicario was Forster at the time. We had Dragushin and Ben Davies as our centre-backs, but then Dragushin got injured as well, and that ended up having Archie Gray and Ben Davies as our centre-backs for 2 months nearly now. 2 or 3 months that was going on for. Any team in the Premier League would struggle with that. But on top of that, Bentancur missed 7 games through suspension, missed a further 5 or 6 games through injury that season as well. Also, Richarlison was injured most of the season. Odegaard was injured nearly all season. I think Odegaard, if you add up his minutes, only played 10 games. We didn't have Tel or Danso through that period when we was getting all those injuries as well. And when people say that he should have used his squad better, he should have adapted. Well, Spurs have signed Mawani, Tel, Danso, Kinksky, Xavi, Kudos, Takai. And there's still Spurs fans out there now saying that we didn't fill out the squad enough. We haven't done enough in the summer window. So if we haven't done enough in the summer window to back Frank, then what do you think Ange had the season before? And piled on injuries as well. At one stage, we had 14 injuries at the same time. I think we only had like 13 available players. We were playing 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds for Europa League games and Premier League games because we didn't have anybody. We didn't get Danso, Kinksky and Tel until January. So through that difficult period, 2 games per week, playing Europa League and Premier League games. And we went deep into the League Cup, by the way, as well, which also hindered us and caused us to have more injuries. Players that kept coming back were also getting injured again and get reoccurring injuries. So we could never get a flow. Even the players that came back weren't back long enough to get their match sharpness before again they were injured. Another narrative that people were spreading that Ange caused all these injuries. That's a load of bollocks as well, because there's countless times where it was nothing to do with Ange's tactics or Ange's training. Maddison hurt his ankle and his knee last season. Kulusevski knocked his knee and was out for a long time. Odeberg came back from a long-term hamstring injury and then overstretched in the Europa League game and ended up tearing his hamstring and needed an operation. That's why he ended up playing 10 games. Then you got Dragushin, twisted his knee during the game. Nothing to do with Ange Postecoglou. Vicario broke his ankle, fractured his ankle during a game against Manchester City in a collision. Nothing to do with Ange's tactics. It goes on and on and on like this, but he still got blamed. When you see Arsenal this season, their players dropping like flies. Has there been one person that said Arteta is the reason why they're getting injured? There might be a few now, but this was happening last season as well, and no one mentioned it. It was only Ange was the only problem in the league. He's too intense. That's another thing I heard. His training is too intense. You're in the Premier League. If you're not intense, you're not going to win games. It's as simple as that. And another example of people saying he's tactically inept. If he's tactically inept, why was he beating Manchester City, the Etihad, 4-0 against Pep Guardiola, arguably one of the best ever managers? Why? Why is he doing that if he's tactically inept? Do you know what inept actually means? How can you go and beat someone if you're inept? 4-0, one of the best teams in the league. Went to Old Trafford, won 3-0. Tactically inept? No. Went to Villa, beat them 4-0, and then the second season beat them 4-1. Beat West Ham 4-1. There's countless times where Spurs, when they had their proper first team, they were good and they didn't concede many chances. When we had our full side, we didn't concede many chances. We had stupid results like losing to Ipswich and Crystal Palace at some points of the season. But it wasn't reflective of the whole season. When we lost to Ipswich 1-0, and everyone goes back to that. You lost to Ipswich 1-0. I think it was 2-0, 2-1 or something like that. But it's by one goal. Everyone lost their heads. But if Spurs won that game that day, they would have gone into third. It was just a blip at the time, but then injuries started rolling after that. And then when we got all our players back, everyone was like, see, you got your players back and you're still losing games. That was nothing to do with that either. The reason why we're still losing games is because the players that were all coming back at the same time, none of them are match sharp or match fit, but they've been thrown back in because we needed them. And then once we got to a certain stage of Europa League, we was playing them more for them games than we was for the Premier League games. So all these narratives, last season I went through this with hundreds of people trying to explain what's really going on with Ange Postecoglou. You can't go through a season and have 14 of your first teamers out and expect to play 2 competitions per week and still win games. There was this other narrative like he's not pragmatic enough. He doesn't change it up. And when he did change it up, everyone just said, oh, he's just doing it because he's trying to win a trophy. I'm like, what? You can't win with this guy. It doesn't matter what he did. You just can't win. And so I believe, and I truly do believe this, I believe his winning mentality at Forest, I have got a few concerns for Forest, and Forest will have a few concerns too. If you're getting peppered, for example, and a team, let's just say Liverpool, are getting chance after chance after chance against you, Ange won't change it. He won't start playing defensively. He'll keep playing the way he's playing, and it will really frustrate you. It really will. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get that 1-0 up and he won't defend a 1-0 lead. He'll keep trying to get the second. Sometimes that'll work and you'll score 2 or 3. Sometimes you'll get 1-0 up and lose 3-1. It depends on the team you're playing and how they counteract how you're playing. If you get injuries as well to your main players that can play this system really well, let's say you've got Morgan Gibbs-White, Chris Wood, your 2 centre-backs, Milenkovic and I can't remember his name at the moment, but your 2 massive centre-backs, Murillo, that's it. If they all start getting injured, you won't play the system as well, and it will look crap because you haven't got the players to fill in. That's what happened to us. We had to swap basically Van der Ven for Ben Davies, and we had to swap we had to swap Romero for Archie Gray. There's massive drop-offs there, and it makes his system look worse than it is. If you can keep your players fit, you will beat many teams to play in the way he plays. It's going to take a long time for you to adjust to it because he's coming mid-season as well. I don't think he's ever done that before, and you're used to playing that pragmatic way, so that might be an issue as well. And if you don't get used to it and he doesn't get results, maybe fans might start turning on him, because I think most fans actually did like Nuno. And I think he overachieved, to be honest. He didn't deserve to get the sacked. So one thing as well, Ange Postecoglou really, really believes in himself. He really believes he can win every single game. He makes the players believe in themselves as well. He brought a winning mentality to us. He's the first manager ever to get us over the line, to actually get us to win a trophy. Do you know how hard that is? Jose didn't do it, but yes, he got sacked 5 days before final. Conte couldn't do it. Poch couldn't do it. Redknapp couldn't do it. You know, the list goes on. But Ange done it. He found a way. So my prediction for this season for Nottingham Forest is, I think you're going to win a trophy this season. I do. And I think you're going to win the Europa League. And I think Ange is going to win that 2 times in a row. And he'll become one of Nottingham Forest's legends as well. He's more of a legend for Spurs because, we ain't won a trophy for a long time, and Forest have won 2 Champions League. So I think he'll do very, very well. As long as those things don't happen, there's another thing that might happen as well, is he might call out Marinakis in a press conference or something. If things ain't going his way, he does start to get narky with the reporters. And if Marinakis runs onto the pitch to have a go at Ange Postecoglou, he ain't going to take that either. They could have a massive fallout. Both of them have massive egos, so that could be a clash, and he might not last long if that happens as well. But all in all, you will fall in love with Ange Postecoglou. You will. You'll love him. You'll love the football. You're going to be crazy attacking, I'm telling you. Your left back and your right back are going to be up front most of the time. It's going to be crazy. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of frustration. It's going to probably end up in tears, but you will enjoy the football. Let me know in the comments what you think of today's video. Are you still thinking the same way as what I did about Ange? I still think he's a legend of the Tottenham Hotspur. And I just wanted to give a different outlook on what Ange actually did for our club and what the struggles really were, because he wasn't tactically inept and he wasn't that bad of a manager, in my opinion. Thank you for watching, and come on you Spurs.